boy, that's really far away. Alright, can everybody see me? We're live. We don't have anybody here yet. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. Even though it's live, I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. This is a really easy recipe that I found. This is the best homemade cinnamon rolls recipe, copycat. It should switch it around once it switches it out. But if it doesn't, the link is going to be in the description, the actual recipe. And we're going to go ahead. I'm going to actually make the recipe here. Change this so you guys don't have to be stuck watching me. Oh, excuse me. We're going to go ahead and try to make it as bright as possible so that way we can see. I got the ingredients already pre-measured out. I'm sure it's going to take a little bit for people to come in. So, hey, how are you? We have somebody here. Doesn't tell me who you are, but it's good to see you. We're going to be making some cinnamon rolls. Copycat Cinnabon cinnamon rolls. They're pretty good. I like them. I've made these before, probably about a dozen times. They're super really good. They're very rich. Ah, it's Cindy. Hi. You want to learn how to make cinnamon rolls? Cindy's been around forever. She's been following from the beginning. I could probably sit down. We're going to do cinnamon rolls tonight. And then I'm going to go over, there's some herbs that I have. Hey, Durf. How you doing, Fred? I have the ingredients already pre-mixed out. This is all pretty easy. If you know how to make bread, then you probably, this will be a very easy process. I like making bread. Probably next week, if I can make sure to get the ingredients Saturday. Next week we'll probably do homemade pretzels, the big dough pretzels that are really good. We'll do those next week, and those are pretty fun. Since I have free reign of the kitchen and I have a very large kitchen, we'll be able to cover everything that we're doing here, and we will make some really tasty cinnamon rolls. It's really simple to make. Baking is really easy. You have to have a little bit of patience. As I was getting everything set up tonight, I accidentally let the milk sit too long, so it is definitely a little warm. I have 3 people. I'm gonna go ahead and go with 3 people. You guys are here on time. Though not everybody knows where I'm at. And I know I probably should have done this over on TikTok, but this will be recorded. So anybody that actually wants to learn how to make this particular recipe and see how easy it is, they can do that. They can kind of skip through because, you're going to have the part where we're doing this part where we're putting all the ingredients together, and the best way to do that, or at least the way that I found to do that. And then one of my friends / one of my first students, she gave me a bunch of herbs today. She went through a specific herbal class, but she has a ton of herbs that they gave her throughout the course of that. So while we're waiting for the dough to rise, which takes about an hour, while we're waiting for the dough to rise, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go through some of those herbs and talk about the medicinal properties. I told her that, because there's probably about 100 herbs in there, I told her I could turn that into content, and that'll make it easier for me to get certain videos done in the daytime while still keeping up with my other series. I've got the 2 series going, and then of course I've got the herb course that we're doing. The natural healing course. It's actually all about how to be a natural healer versus just being an herbalist. So if anybody has any questions, about this particular recipe? Anybody like cinnamon rolls? Do you guys like them? Who doesn't like cinnamon rolls? I've been looking forward to this all week, so. You hear that noise back there? That's those rotten cats. The recipe's fairly simple too. There really isn't all that many ingredients. Excuse me. I know that some people assume that when it comes to cinnamon rolls, they can be kind of difficult to make, but they're really not that hard to make. And they're a little tedious, because you have to roll out the dough and then put all the stuff in the middle and roll it up and cut it and blah blah blah. But the end result, when you're really done, the amount of work that really goes into it isn't really all that much. It isn't that. And I have the coolest rolling pin. I was really struggling because everybody, a lot of you guys know that I just moved. So I'm trying to fill my house with stuff, and I was like, oh, crap, I don't have a rolling pin. How am I supposed to make cinnamon rolls if I don't have a rolling pin? So yesterday I went and found one, if I can remember where I put it. This is like the coolest rolling pin I've ever seen. Most of the ones that I've seen all the ones that I've seen in the past have been a wooden rolling pin. This is the first time I've seen one like this. This is a ceramic rolling pin that's stuck between the two roller handles. This is really cool though. So I thought, wow, this is a really good find. I got it for like $2 at Goodwill. But I was like, man, I need a rolling pin. I certainly hope they have one. So they did, and it wasn't quite what I expected. Hey, Sarah. So wow, three of my favorite followers. That's cool. You guys are all here. I know you're going to stick around, so that certainly makes it worth it. So you guys want to see some cinnamon rolls? So right now, during the live, for those of you who are coming along later, three of my most loyal followers. These guys have been around forever. These I could really say these guys are my friends at this point. They are sticking around. They're going to watch me make cinnamon rolls, and we're going to talk and drink coffee. Ceramic is great for chilled dough. I've never used one. You know, I didn't even know it existed before. So when I saw it, I was like, is that what I think it is? And I was like, holy crap, that's definitely a rolling pin. So we're going to use this tonight, and I'm very excited that I have one. I was getting kind of worried. How am I supposed to make anything like that? Because I would hate to try to roll out the dough with my hands. I mean, I could probably do it, but boy, what a pain in the butt that would be. I'd be better off just getting a round stick and rolling it. Okay, so the ingredients for this particular one calls for, let's see if my milk is cooled off yet. Probably good enough for who it's for. So I tried to warm it up earlier, and I warmed it up too hot. If you warm it up too hot, you're going to kill your yeast, but if it's not warm enough, your yeast isn't going to rise. You want it anywhere between 100 and 110 degrees if you have a thermometer. If you don't, it just, it's got to be above room temperature where it feels warm, but it doesn't scald your skin. So this is about the right temperature at this point. The reason why you want to do this is you want to add this, because when you're making cinnamon rolls, the ingredients go one package active dry yeast, which totals out to about a tablespoon, through 2/3 of a tablespoon. 1 cup warm milk, 1/2 cup granulated sugar, 1/3 of a cup of softened butter, 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 eggs, and 4 cups of flour. Now I've already combined the salt into the flour, so I'm going to go ahead and I need to transfer this milk into something that's a little warmer, because if I leave it in there, it's going to be too cold, and then it won't activate the yeast. I'm going to warm it up just a touch, because what I do with mine, some people say, in the recipe it calls for you to just put the yeast directly into the milk. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of sugar because that'll help feed the yeast, and it'll wake up a little it'll activate a little faster. If you have any suggestions, leave that in the comments right now. I'm going to try it this time with just putting it in the milk. If you think about it, the milk's going to have natural fats in it anyway, or natural sugars in it anyway, so the yeast should activate with the milk. I'm going to use not quite a tablespoon. As you can tell, I bought this. I just got the Fleischmann's active dry yeast. I use just a little bit less than a tablespoon, because one of the packages isn't quite a tablespoon. It's about 2/3. So I make it just shy of a tablespoon. Not like that. Sprinkle it in the milk, and then you want to stir it up. I just put it in a measuring cup, because the measuring cup isn't going to make... That pan was pretty cold, because I had to put it in the freezer. It was too hot. I typically use something like a butter knife rather than a whisk when I do yeast, because it'll stick to the whisk, and you've got so many of the spines on that whisk that you'll lose a lot of your yeast. And just very lightly stir it in. You don't really want to... And just leave it set. It's going to take a while. I'll show you what it looks like once it starts to activate. Once you put it in the milk, you can just set it aside. Because I'm picky about it, I'm going to add a little bit of sugar to the milk. But then I'm going to put the rest of the sugar in to the other dry ingredients, which is the flour and the salt. Hey Mitchell, how are you? Sorry I didn't see you. See, there's 4 of my favorite followers. That's pretty awesome. This is going to be a great night tonight. We are in the midst of making cinnamon rolls. Cinnabon cinnamon rolls. They're really easy to make. If you miss anything in this part of the video, you can always go back and start it from the beginning. I have the yeast mixed into the milk. It's sitting at about 100 degrees. We're just going to let it go ahead and sit. I'm going to add the sugar to the rest of the flour salt mix. It's a half a cup of sugar, 4 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt. That's where we're at right now. Okay, it says in a separate bowl, add sugar, butter, salt, eggs, flour, and mix well. This part of the recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of butter. I prefer using butter over margarine, and I mean you can use whatever you want, I suppose. But butter is significantly better for you than margarine is. They have found in study after study. You know, and like everything else, everything in moderation. So we have the flour. I found out the hard way over the years that when you do have your dry ingredients, mix them up pretty good. In anything you make, whether it's biscuits or dough like this for bread, anything, cookies, cakes, anything like that, make sure your dry ingredients are mixed well first, because if you try to do it later, sometimes it's kind of a pain in the butt to make sure that everything is mixed. What kind of flour am I using? I'm just using plain old self-rising flour. I didn't make it to the local, we have a Mennonite store. Some friends of mine, they own a Mennonite store where they have Whole Foods and stuff like that, and that's where I would typically go. But I was kind of in a pinch. I'm just trying to get my house filled, so I just have some plain old self-rising flour. I think it's self-rising. Let me check. No, all-purpose. I'm using all-purpose flour. That's what I'm using. I don't really like the self-rising because sometimes for me, it's a little salty. Then you got to be careful what kind of flour blends you mix. One time I remember we took tortilla flour and tried to make biscuits out of it. It was so salty, it was gross. It was really bad. Strangely enough, though, I have always liked making bread. I love making bread. Hey, I like the smell. And I've been thinking all week about making like a loaf of bread, but I don't know. I guess I just got lazy or something. I just didn't have the oomph to be able to do it. I thought as soon as I got into the house, everything would be great, and I'd be able to just take off running, right? And I'm trying to still catch up with stuff. So this calls for 1/3 of a cup of butter, softened butter. Make sure, like I made sure to take this out earlier in the day. This has been sitting out. It's fairly soft. I have a bread maker I haven't used in a few years. I think if I'm going to make my bread, I'm just going to make it whole. I'm just going to do it myself and not use a bread maker. And probably because I've never tried a bread maker. I think if I'd ever tried a bread maker and I realized how awesome it was, I'd probably never go back to doing it the other way. But so I'm going to add my 1/3 of a cup of butter, softened butter. I've also found that if you're going to make dough like this and you add butter, if you mix your butter in, this is what I do with my biscuits when I'm making biscuits. If I mix my butter in to my flour first, it makes the flour kind of tacky, but it's easier when I add my wet ingredients to mix everything together. If that makes sense. If you're a baker, you understand, I think. They also have what's called a dough cutter. I think you may have heard of that. I'll show you here in a second. And they can be pretty handy. We got some butter left on the side. This is just salted butter. I try to keep it as simple as possible. Excuse me. Okay, so we have 1/3 of a cup of softened butter. I need 2 eggs, which I have 2 eggs. Ginger, stop that. We have the 2 eggs. The 4 cups of flour, 1 cup of warm milk, which is here with the yeast in it and the sugar. All right, so I'm gonna get a fork and then show you my dough cutter. Dough mixer? Dough cutter? Maybe one of you guys in the comments will know what this is. Dough cutter? Dough mixer? It works really well when I'm doing my biscuits, so I don't have to get my hands all gross and doughy. But I tend to still get my hands all gross and doughy. So I'm going to take my butter and I'm going to mix it into this 4 cups of flour as well as I can. Now you're probably not going to cover every single bit of flour, but as long as you can blend that butter up as much as possible, and you don't have any clumps of butter in it, it makes it a lot easier. That's just been what I've found over the years. If you can make it to where there's no clumps, it gets a lot easier to turn that dough later. If you're a baker, maybe you understand why that works. You can let me know in the comments why that works. I never had anybody actually tell me that. This is just past experience talking. I had to teach myself how to bake like this because, you know, it's not that hard if you can read instructions. And then when the internet came out, it made it even better because you had a wider variety of recipes. That feels like I don't see any clumps of butter anywhere, so that's mostly turned. And look what it does to your flour. It makes your flour a little bit more cakey. It's not quite the same. There, you can see a little bit easier there. The flour is just a little bit stickier, a little bit tackier. I'll make a bowl out of the flour, put a bowl in the center, because we're about ready to mix the eggs in. I hate using store-bought eggs. This is really gross, but I don't have access to farm eggs yet. Give me time. So you can also do the same thing with the eggs, get them mixed in. It's not really going to matter because you're going to be adding milk. Now, the yeast may not necessarily rise right away when it comes to in the cup with the milk, but once you add it into your bread and dough, it will. When you put it aside, you want to make sure it's in kind of a warm spot. The warmer it is, the better reaction your yeast will have. Now what I typically do is I'll just cover it with a towel. See, I've done the same thing with the eggs. You can kind of see it makes the flour a bit stiffer, but it's going to be easier when I go to add the milk to turn this in. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments. Oh, Durf said he got to see an Amish bulk food store, and yeah, they can really make some food. Those Amish people. We live in Amish country here. Yeah, they can cook, and they use all the old stuff. And I kind of try to cook like they do, kind of like I use lard and butter and milk. I made biscuits the other day. I used lard instead of shortening. I just can't do shortening. Once I found out that shortening was actually was originally made as submarine lubricant, I was good. Now since there's 4 of you there should be 4 likes. Why isn't there 4 likes? Come on, guys, help me out. Maybe more people will watch. A pastry blender. Thank you, Sarah. I didn't know that. It works really well for my biscuits. I know that when I make biscuits and I get in there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add the yeast to the flour mixture and the milk. Oh, I can smell it. It already smells like bread. It has that smell. Now, what I always do when I'm making anything, when I'm baking anything with biscuits or anything, I always keep like a half a cup of flour to the side. Because in some cases, if your dough is too wet, you're going to need to stiffen it up a bit. And if you're at a point where your hands are all covered with dough, it's a little hard to dig into the flour bag when your hands, your hands look like you're trying to deep fry your fingers for later snack. Your dough should be very thick. Don't be concerned if it's not supposed to look like cake dough. And eventually we're going to put our hands in here and start kneading this together and getting it going. When I do it, I am not afraid to dump some extra flour on the counter that I'm working on. And then it's easier to knead that way because you have more of a surface to get in there and do that. One thing I did not make sure I had anything for wiping my hands off. However, a little trick of the trade that I've learned over the years, if you keep some flour on the side and you dip your doughy hands in the flour and go like this, it'll come right off your hands and it'll go into the dough. Now, I washed my hands really well before I started. You might want to wash your hands really well. If you don't, there have been times that I've not washed my hands, got them really doughy, and I went like this, and the dough came off gray. So, which told me a lot. And I realized I didn't want those in my bread. So, yeah, I made sure my hands were clean way before I started touching my dough with my hands. Always good rule of thumb, just so you know. All right, so it's enough that it's not sticking too badly to my hands. It's kind of a firmer dough. Now, you really want to make sure that the ingredients are mixed well. That's what I've discovered. And like with biscuits, you don't really want to do a lot of mixing. With biscuits, you want to... with biscuits, you just want to, you see how that dough is not sticking to the counter? You know, it is a little soft and tacky, and at times I'll add a little bit of flour to that as I'm kneading. You just want to make sure that it's not sticking to things. You also want to make sure your countertop is super clean because it will act like a dirt sponge. If it's feeling tacky, I always just add a little bit more flour, and I just do it a pinch at a time. It'll act like a dirt sponge, and it'll pick up all that dirt. You'll see it in your dough, and it really makes it so you don't want to do that again. At least in theory, it should make it so you don't want to do that again. Now, when I knead it, I just kind of knead it. See, if it's starting to get tacky, I'll put it on my hands. Rub your hands together with a little bit of flour, and it comes right off. I mean, yeah, it's still a little floury, but that's just because my dough's a bit wet. So that's a little, I don't know if it's a pro tip, but it's certainly a tip from experience. If you keep an extra cup, half a cup of flour to the side as you're doing this, you're not going to risk getting your dough in your, or your dough too sticky. Now that's a pretty good dough. That's a pretty good dough ball. You don't have to really dough it or knead it too much. I'm going to take it and put it somewhere warm. See, there's a nice little. Now here's what I do when I do that. Some people will flour their bowl. I am not going to do that. I'm going to wipe it out with a paper towel, and I'm going to coat it with lard. If you prefer to use shortening or butter or something like that, you can. But I found that lard seems to work the best as far as coating it without it being able to stick, because you don't really want it to stick to the bowl. Now, I understand that the dough isn't currently sticking to anything right now, but eventually any moisture that's in there will leak out. Sorry about that. That was not proper prior planning. I missed the lard. I thought I had everything. I missed the lard. So I'm going to wipe out my bowl because it has the residue from the flour in it. If you want to just grab a clean bowl, you can do that. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of big bowls right now. So I'm limited in the amount of dinnerware that I have and cookware. So I have to use what I have. But that is quickly changing. I just pick it up as I go, a bit at a time. So I'll take some lard, or shortening, or whatever you want to use. I'll take that and I'll apply it on the inside of the bowl. And that'll give a nice little layer of protection in there. So when that comes out, it won't stick. Now you're going to want to let this rise for about an hour. We'll let it sit in there, and I usually just cover it with a towel. The reason why, the towel acts like an insulator. My kitchen is a little cold, so I'm going to put this in my bedroom. I turned up the heat in my bedroom. And then I'll be able to clean some of this up. But here's my dough ball, which did not stick to the counter. It's in really good shape. We'll put that in there like that. Cinnamon rolls, the filling ingredients, and then we also have the icing because we're going to do cream cheese icing as well. Wouldn't be Cinnabon cinnamon rolls without it, would it? I don't have any baking towels. They have what are called baking towels. Oh, I do have something to show you real quick. I don't have any baking towels, but you can use a hand towel as long as you make sure that it's not, that it's shaken out and it's clean, and it shouldn't need too much lint. Just cover it over, like, tuck it in like it's ready to take a nap, and then let it sit for just about an hour. It should rise to about twice its normal size. Alright, so I have it sitting somewhere warm. I've heard of some people, and there have been times in the past that I've taken that dough, and maybe I used the oven an hour or two before, so the oven still had some residual heat in it. And you can sit it in the oven. If it still feels like it's really warm, if it goes too hot, it'll kill the yeast, and then you'll just have a lump of really yeasty tasting dough. But if you take it and you let it sit in there and covered like that, it'll heat fairly quickly, and the yeast will activate. So the key that I found, I've made different kinds of cinnamon rolls. This particular recipe is the one that I found that seems to be the closest to what you would find in a Cinnabon cinnamon roll. The reason why is instead of using like sugar, just plain sugar and brown sugar, or just plain sugar and cinnamon, they use brown sugar with cinnamon. So you have that little molasses flavor that's going to go along with the with that cinnamon, and it really adds to that texture of the cinnamon roll. Heck, if I was smart about it, I could make these in bulk and probably take them to work and sell them for $4 or $5 a piece. Now these will give you 12 nice healthy cinnamon rolls. You'll see when this is done, because we're going to take this through the whole process. When we get to this to the point, you can just fast forward through certain spots. I don't know about putting timestamps on there. I might at some point. I don't have time to do it right now. You just have to kind of fast forward through. I can tell you that it'll take an hour to rise. So an hour from now, give or take, you should be able to go ahead and fast forward through. Here in a minute, we're gonna talk about parts of the recipe, and then I'm going to go over some of those herbs that my friend gave me that are pretty awesome. I think you'll like it. I think you'll be very impressed. This will give me a lot of content too, because we'll be able to discuss the medicinal properties of a lot of these herbs as we go. So tonight you get to learn how to make cinnamon rolls, and then you get to learn some herbs. Mitchell said, "I'm here, but don't know how to use the function on here." Oh, yeah, YouTube. I know. I should have done TikTok, but the reason why I didn't is because YouTube's going to actually save this, and this will be, you can go back at a later time and watch this. So though it's going to be a really lengthy type of video, you're learning something really interesting. You're learning how to make some really amazing cinnamon rolls, and then on top of that, we're just going to throw some herb stuff in there too for good measure, just because we can, and we'll make it a really great hour and a half. It takes about an hour and a half total to get them done. Okay, so on to the next part of the recipe. So what they call for is 1 cup of packed brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of cinnamon, and then another 1/3 of a cup of butter softened. So that'll make our ingredients. And here's where I screw it up every time. Is I mix them all together, and I don't screw it up. It ends up making the most amazing cinnamon rolls. Ordinarily, what I do is I don't think about it, and I just mix all that together. And I'm like, oh crap, but what they want you to do is they want you to take that butter and spread it all over the dough, right? So you're going to take that butter and you're going to cover that dough from corner to corner to corner, and then you're going to pour the brown sugar and cinnamon over that, as even as you can. And then in theory, as you roll it up and it cooks, it'll bake, the butter will melt and it'll bake into the cinnamon, and it won't make a mess. What I always end up doing almost every time I make them is I go ahead and I mix the butter into the sugar first, knowing, I mean, I don't know at the time, but I figure out later that I'm not supposed to. The leaves always come out uneven. Oh, the loaves do. I can see that being a thing. The loaves on the dough maker. Yeah, I can see that. I'm gonna try. Okay, so what I'm gonna do this week is, I think if we start doing the lives, if I start doing some cooking stuff and then some other things, next week I would like to do how to make a tincture without an alcohol. And let me show you without alcohol, and let me show you what we're gonna use, so you guys can get ready for it next week. Let's do this. We'll do this next week. Everybody, make sure at some point, most of you guys have my phone number. Make sure you send me a text so I don't forget. Get some Caro syrup. Just a small jar. You can get a big jar. I don't care. Get what you want. Just get some Caro syrup. Get some Caro, and come back next week. Same time, same place, Sunday at 7. And I'm going to teach you how to make a non-alcohol tincture without glycerin. And I'll tell you why. And this is one of those emergency things that you can do in a pinch. I'm not going to do a video on it until later. We're going to do it as a live first, and I'll do a shortened version of that as well for people. So you can actually make a glycerin-based tincture. You can do it in less than a few hours, though. In my own personal opinion, I don't like making tinctures that short. Because that means you have to heat up your herbs. Excuse me. And the hotter you heat up your herbs, the hotter you heat up your herbs, the more of the compounds you're going to lose. So let's see what this gave us. Wait, before we do that, all right. So most of you know that I had a realtor who helped me get a house. And the 4 of you that are here right now, you know the realtor. Her name was Kelly, and she was freaking amazing, right? Kelly is a really awesome lady. She went above and beyond when she helped me get this house. And there were some people that said, well, she was doing her job. And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Kelly was doing her job. However, she still went above and beyond. So she got me this gift bag set, and I was getting ready to do a live for the gift bag, or to do an unboxing video for the gift bag set. And I had some other things going on. I was getting that, and I heard this awful racket out here in the kitchen. A little bit later, I come out, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Well, it seems the cats had gotten at the bag. They had tore the bag open that Kelly had gotten me. And all the presents were like all over the floor. So Kelly got me a housewarming present to welcome me into my home. So she got me some really cool hand soap that has natural flavors and aroma in it. It makes the bathroom smell really amazing when you use it. Then she got me some microfiber mats that I can use on the countertop when I'm doing dishes and whatnot. Those are pretty cool. She got me some kitchen towels, some really nice. It's a really nice set of kitchen towels. But the coolest thing out of all the stuff, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to read this, but I don't. She follows me over on TikTok, and I think she might follow me on Instagram too. But Kelly, if you're watching this, and if you do get to see this, I want to thank you, because this is really cool. You ready for this? She got me this that hangs off the counter. Yeah, it might be backwards, but it says "Where Science Meets Nature." How cool is that? And it's herbs too. So you got beets, basil, carrots, mint, dill, rosemary. Pretty neat, huh? I think that's pretty cool. So thank you, Kelly. That was when I saw that was like Christmas. So yeah, she did well. Have I ever tried to dual live YouTube and TikTok? I don't know that I have that on my phone. My poor phone, it's an older phone, and I think I need a better setup. I would like to do this one, TikTok and Instagram, do all 3 of them live at the same time. That might be a little bit better, but I need to get a better setup. I mean, it's kind of hard just doing this off my phone. So I really kind of hate it, but it's all I have right now. It's all I can do. I did add a bunch of stuff to the store today. That'll help. I get some income through the Etsy store that we have. It's Science with Nature at Etsy.com, or Etsy stores. Etsy. If you go to Etsy and look Science with Nature up, that's where I'll put the link in the description in that too. But I got a whole bunch of new teas coming up. I have 2 new ones. just probably tomorrow morning, I'm going to be adding St. John's wort, and then I have a hibiscus green tea blend. So for people who like green tea, that has hibiscus in it too. It's a really nice one. Our bread is loading. All right, so my friend, she didn't really have any use for the herbs. She got her degree, and I didn't see the orange tea. Oh yeah, it's cinnamon orange. It's cinnamon orange tea is how it's listed. Cinnamon orange something. Cinnamon orange. I can go grab it real quick. We have time. We're waiting for yeast to rise, for crying out loud. Make sure you keep your yeast in the refrigerator, by the way. I almost ended up having some of this tonight, but I needed caffeine more. Orange cinnamon spice tea. It's probably backwards again, but orange cinnamon spice tea is what it's called. I think that's what it's under. And it would be one of the first two. I have to be very careful on Etsy. They're being very particular about the wording I use. So I keep listing my lotion, and they kept canceling it because they kept saying it was making medicinal claims. And the last time I posted it, I know for sure I didn't make any medicinal claims. I didn't do anything. But they took it off anyway. So I went to another listing that sold a lotion that was similar to mine, copied what they wrote, put it over to a different page, customized it to make it more along the lines of what I do, and then put it on mine. And I'm going to see now if they cancel that one too, then they're specifically targeting me. And it's not about, it's not even me going, oh my God, this is a conspiracy. I'm just saying that if I'm using the exact same wording as somebody else, but somebody else gets to sell their lotion and I don't, there's clearly something wrong there. I can look again. I got a whole bunch of new stuff. I got some because I got my herbs in yesterday, so I got dandelion, I got some burdock listed, I got St. John's wort and the hibiscus green tea. Now these herbs, we can do a lot of cool things with this. It's going to help me come up with some content because with all the other stuff I have going on, it's hard to come up with an actual video every morning, right? So that makes it kind of difficult. So what she has here is this box, her herb course. Look at that. That's filled with herbs. And that's different herbs. Every one of these packages is a different herb. So what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to pour one out. This one's organic peppermint leaf. And I think this is roughly an ounce. So I have an ounce of organic peppermint leaf. This would be good for all sorts of different projects. I could go ahead and discuss, here's peppermint leaf, and here's the benefits of peppermint and why you'd want it. So I'm going to go through just quite a few of them here. We got peppermint. We have cleaver's herb. That's another really good herb. Oregon grape root, but this is the root itself. Cut and sifted, not powdered. Oh, that's just one box. We got 2 boxes of this. Check this one out. That's a ton of herbs. Cindy said that's a ton of herbs. Check this out. Ugh. There's box number 2. Oh, okay, we'll talk about those while we're here. Alright, so here we have sheep sorrel. That's one of the 4 ingredients of the Easy-Act blend. There's some valerian root. Smells like dirty socks. Gentian. This feels like, yeah, that's also cut and sifted root. As a poke user, I have to have the root from the shop. Got some hops. Hops is a really good herb. It's for more than just making beer. Let's see. Olive leaf, that's a really good antiviral. It's kind of interesting. I was looking to put together an antiviral recipe this week. So what I think we're going to do, while we're sitting here talking, I'm going to pull aside some herbs that are specifically good for viruses. And if you're following along right now, it'd be a good idea to get a notepad and paper out. And I'm going to do I'll give you guys a quick antiviral blend that we can use here. So olive leaf is one of them I definitely want to keep aside for the blend, and I'll tell you why. Olive leaf is known to kill viruses at 3 different stages of the life cycle. So unlike some herbs which will only attack a virus in one stage of the life cycle, it's known that olive leaf will attack a virus from 3 different stages of the life cycle. So that way you're able to attack from multi angles, and it gives the virus less of an opportunity to replicate. But you never want to just use a single herb, right? Because then you're just limiting the amount of ability that you're attacking an herb from. So we're going to keep olive leaf aside. I'm going to keep going until I get a minimum of 4 herbs that are antiviral. Now I know for sure that I saw some elderflower in here. So that means we're going to get some elderflower we're going to pull out. So if you're keeping notes, now's a good time. We're going to add elderflower to our antiviral blend. Oh, we got some feverfew here. This is great for migraines. Even the FDA acknowledges that feverfew works for migraines. It probably really just kills them. Shepherd's purse is another good herb. It's good for your lungs. Alfalfa leaf, that's a good kidney booster. Oat straw herb, it works well together with alfalfa leaf as a kidney booster. Chickweed, that's a healing herb. Chickweed is a contact healer. So if you find chickweed in the wild and you get cut or you have a wound and you get some chickweed, you can put that directly on a wound and it will start the healing process a little faster. Check it out, you guys are getting a little herb class while we're waiting for our dough to rise. We have about another 50 minutes or so before the dough rises. So we'll just go ahead and we'll talk about a bunch of different herbs. And the good thing about it is if you download this video, that means you'll have this information that you can save and you can always go back and listen and take notes and then you'll be able to know. Like, okay, so we talked about Oregon grapefruit. Oregon grapefruit is the second most powerful antibiotic herb in the world. You have golden seal, which is considered the most antibiotic herb in the world. Golden seal has high amounts of berberine, but it also has some other terpenes and other compounds that make it very potent against viruses and bacteria. And they've tested golden seal specifically against many different kinds of viruses. You have E. coli, staphylococcus, all those really the harder ones to kill, staph infections. And they found that golden seal, if you use the whole herb, and it has to be the leaf, you can't use the root. The root is too strong. It's highly alkalized. Now, granted, if you make your body more alkalized, it makes your body less hospitable to viruses and other microorganisms. But if you use the leaf, it's less harmful for the body, but it's just as effective against the viruses. They found that there's a synergistic blend in the leaves that balance out the alkalinity that comes with the berberine, which makes it safer. Oh, that was very long-winded. Got some. Got some flaxseed. It's good for cholesterol. Comfrey root. Comfrey root is a little bit stronger than the leaf, but it still has those healing properties. If you're looking for something that heals, comfrey root is shown in laboratory studies to heal wounds up to 30% faster. So, I mean, if you use comfrey in a salve, you need to make sure to use a carrier oil with it. Excuse me, I have gas. And what I mean by carrier oil, you're going to want to use something like emu oil or castor oil that'll get the herb compounds deeper into the layers of skin, because comfrey root is known to actually, it'll heal the top of a wound before it heals the bottom inside the wound, and you run the risk of getting an infection because you'll seal in the bad stuff because it heals so fast. It'll heal bones faster, everything. It does all of that. Comfrey's amazing. But again, like everything else, you got to use it in moderation. Got some horsetail shade grass. Bupleurum root. I don't even know what the hell that is. We should see what that is. Should we see what that is? Never heard of such a thing. Bleuperum. No, not that. B-L-E-U. B-U-P-L-E. What the? U-P-L-E. Bupleurum. Bupleurum root. I've never even heard of this herb. This is crazy. It's an herbal supplement that has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for centuries. It's anti-inflammatory, helps with liver, detox, supports immune function, nausea, bloating, indigestion, boosts mood. This is an herb we should probably research. We're going to set this one aside, we'll research it, and we'll do it this week. I have to learn how to pronounce it before we talk about it. Have some capsules here. Astragalus root, this is a great adaptogen. This is good to get your body ready for stresses. California poppy, this is a great pain reliever. Plantain for pain. So you could do the poppy, the plantain, and the comfrey, the chickweed, and the comfrey. You could add all those together, and that would be a great healing salve. Those four. That's a dandelion leaf. It's a good detox herb, diuretic. Gravel root. This is good for your lungs. This is therapeutic grade. Therapeutic grade gravel root. Calendula. Dandelion root. Witch hazel. Good antiseptic. Yarrow leaf and flower, it's good for wounds. More yarrow leaf and flower. Garlic and clove, so that's a good antiviral. That's a good antiviral. So we'll add the garlic to the olive leaf for the antiviral. Isn't it weird how I just go through and find these blends? I'm finding these blends as we go. And Irby doesn't know, right? I'd never even heard of it. I can't even pronounce the damn thing. So yeah, that's crazy. That's all right. Hey, it's good. That means I learned something new today. I didn't waste my day. There's some Eleuthero root. That's an adaptogen. Licorice root. You got to be very careful with licorice root because it has high amounts of phytoestrogen in it, so it's a good adaptogen as well. Licorice root is really good as an adaptogen, and it'll help build your body function. But if you are looking to increase your testosterone, this is not the herb for you. There's some basil leaf. That's a good antiviral. Cleaver's herb. Sweet fennel seed. Juniper berries. Juniper berries is really good for antiviral. Burdock root. We all know burdock root's a good anti-inflammatory pain reliever. Has some good cleansing properties. It's diuretic. Yellow dock is almost the exact same thing. It does all the same stuff as burdock root. Here's some dandelion root. Right there's a good detox blend. So we could do dandelion, yellow dock, and burdock would be a great detox blend for cleaning out your liver and kidneys. Lemon balm. This is really good. This is actually a member of the mint family. It's a very mild mint. It's good for your digestion. It'll help with wounds. Boy, I got a ton of content here. Here's some more fennel seed. There's German chamomile. So that's good for relaxation and digestion. It'll help break a fever. Gentle enough for children. You got cinnamon bark. Well, that's a good antiviral. Probably help make that taste a little better. We'll put that over in the antiviral pile. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a whole bunch of stuff over there. So we got some Turkish rhubarb. If we add that to the burdock root here, hold on, I know we had it here. So we have burdock root, and we have Turkish rhubarb root. And then over here, I think we had some, where's it at? I know we had it, was one of the first ones. Right there. Okay, so here's 3 of the 4 ingredients that you need. And I would be willing to bet the 4th ingredient is here. 3 of the 4 ingredients you need to make the Easiac blend. You have burdock root. We have Turkish rhubarb root. And we have sheep sorrel. The last thing we're missing, I'll know it when I see it. I don't remember. I always forget one of the 4. If anybody knows the 4th one, tell me what the 4th one is. Always more to learn. It's a great thing. Right, it's a great thing. It means my brain still works if I can still learn stuff, right? Isn't that what that means? All right, so here we have parsley leaf. That's one of the most... this is amazing. Just wait till you see what I have here. Okay, so there's the parsley leaf. That has almost every nutrient you need. It's still almost a multivitamin all by itself. We have mandrake root, Podophyllum peltatum. It's the one we talked about. This herb reverses radiation damage. It reverses it in laboratory studies. This herb right here. And we have some. We should make a tincture. All right. Organic Cinnapods. I'm not sure what they're good for. I've seen them. I've never used them myself. So, something for us to do some research on. We'll set that over in the research pile. Uva ursi. This is a great urinary herb. If you have issues with the urinary tract, this is a great herb for that. Helps with urinary tract infections. Helps with your bladder and helps with urine retention. So if you're having an issue holding your urine in, it will help with that. Bayberry root. That's another good herb. It has slight amounts of berberine in it. It's also good for your lungs. Here's another one I've never seen. Gymnema leaf. There's two that I haven't seen. That means I'm going to learn two things today. And at least I said it right. At least I'm pretty sure. Gymnema. Gymnema. Probably gymnema. It reduces sugar cravings. It reduces sugar cravings. Can you believe that? If you're watching this, we're getting ready to make cinnamon rolls, but it reduces sugar cravings. It helps lower blood sugar levels. It contributes to favorable insulin levels by increasing insulin production. It improves cholesterol and triglyceride levels. It reduces heart disease risk, and it helps with weight loss. So this is probably an herb that would be good to set aside and maybe figure out some way to add this into some sort of dietary supplement to help with weight loss. Because it helps with appetite control and insulin. Red raspberry leaf. This is a really good herb for females. This will help strengthen the uterus, and it's good for female issues as well. Farmers use it for their animals. Blessed thistle, there's another good lung herb. Blessed thistle is an amazing herb. Good for your liver as well. Catnip. Oh, I wonder if my kittens like catnip. Catnip herb is one of the most gentle mints there is. It's so gentle that you can give this to newborn babies. I used to give this to my children when they were colicky, when they were very young. We would make a bottle of catnip tea and put a little bit of carob syrup in it, and it would calm their colic right down. I wonder if the kittens like it. So just so you know, the babies are doing very well. They are not sick anymore. They think they live here. They may have a problem. I may have a problem. If I end up having to get both my dog and his son, I will have to get rid of the kittens, because if my dog comes, it won't be such a problem. If his son comes along with him, they may try to kill the kittens. So I don't want that. I would have to make sure that the kittens found a good forever home. But I don't want that dog to go down either, because we've known that dog since he was born. Calendula, this is great for burns. High in iodine, so if you have thyroid issues, if you drink this in moderation, it can help with thyroid issues. Here's some more dandelion root, witch hazel, yarrow leaf and flower. It seems like there's quite a few duplicates, which is good. That means we can do multiple projects with these. Marshmallow root, that's good for your lungs. Angelica root, that's good for female issues. Arnica flower, it's good for pain relief. Yellow dock has high amounts of inulin. Wild yam, there it is. There's your fourth ingredient for, I told you we'd find it. There's your fourth ingredient for the Easiac tea blend. The 4 herbs that go in the Easiac tea blend are as follows. Sheep sorrel is the highest amount of all 4 of the herbs. Sheep sorrel would be like 3 parts of sheep sorrel to 2 parts burdock root, 2 parts wild yam, and 1 part Turkish rhubarb root. That is about as close as you're going to get to the original Easiac blend. But from all the research that I did, I discovered that the sheep sorrel was the one that she used the most. Not only did she use it the most, it was in some cases they took that intravenously. They would take the sheep sorrel intravenously in conjunction with the other 4 herbs that she had. And if you do a little bit of research on that, you'll find it's pretty fascinating. When she did her Easy-Act blend, I mean, she was treating cancer all across Canada. This is like in the early 1900s. And she had over 12 clinics that she was treating, and she would get all the hospice patients, the ones that the doctors were just going to let go and die. So she got to treat those, and she had like a 90% success rate or something. She brought like 90% of those people back, or 80%. It was an astronomically high number. I'm going to clear all this off, of course, before it's time. Slippery elm, are you sure? I think you're right, it is slippery elm. So what were we using wild yam for? Good call, Sarah. Cindy says she has raspberry leaf tea. It's a good thing you're paying attention, Sarah. You're right, though, it is slippery elm. See, I always forget the fourth ingredient. So we still have more herbs to cover here. Skullcap, if you use this in conjunction with the feverfew, it's great. It's really great for migraines and tension headaches. Ah, there it is. Oh, hey. You like this. Elderflower. These aren't as harsh as elderberries. Elderberries can be kind of hard. Elderflowers are more gentle, but they're still. You guys ready for this? Reishi mushrooms. How cool is that? Yeah, reishi mushrooms. These things are some of the most well-documented and well-taken care, at least well-scientifically studied organisms in the world as far as their medicinal properties. These things are loaded with medicine. Saw palmetto. This saw palmetto berries. Now here's what saw palmetto does. Saw palmetto works on the prostate. Now it works for female sexual reproductive systems as well, but for the male reproductive system, how it works is a lot of guys take it and they say it's specifically for their prostate, but that's not quite accurate. It does help with the prostate, but in a different way. What it does is your prostate filters the testosterone that goes through your body. So as it goes through your body, it kind of has to go through the prostate first, and the prostate kind of processes it. It also makes testosterone, but as the body processes it, it'll go through the body. The testosterone will, if it's not absorbed properly, it'll go through the body, it'll come back around, and it'll get stuck in the prostate. And that's where you end up with your prostate issues. You get swollen prostate, and eventually some people end up with prostate cancer. So what they've discovered with saw palmetto is it acts more like the roto-rooter for the prostate, and it allows the testosterone to continue to flow through the body until it's properly absorbed before it builds up and then causes problems and inflammation. Reishi mushrooms are also really good adaptogens. We're going to figure out, so we're going to make some projects out of all these herbs. Think about that. And a lot of these will be put over on Patreon, so I think the 4 of you that are currently watching are all patrons. You're all going to get to see this. And the Instagram, I have subscriptions over on Instagram, so they'll get some of this stuff too. But for the most part, you guys are going to be the only ones that get this, because I mean, this is going to be actually sharing recipes and whatnot that are. I mean, most people in my industry would be very upset if I'm sharing recipes like this. There's a good female herb, black cohosh. It helps with balancing the female reproductive system. You got some chase tree berries, also really good for female reproductive system. Sorrel, it's another good lung herb. Basil leaf. St. John's wort, that's a good mood herb. You don't want to take St. John's wort if you're already on psych meds, because it tends to interfere badly with them. We've got some ginkgo leaf, that's cool. Ginkgo is one of those kinds of herbs that will break the blood-brain barrier. It'll get in there and it'll help increase the blood flow to the brain. It's known to help people with Alzheimer's and dementia and other types of neurological disorders. It'll help with your heart and blood pressure. This makes your blood less sticky. Ginkgo biloba makes your blood less sticky. It doesn't make it so your blood doesn't clot. It makes it so it's less sticky. So like when you go to wipe it off, it doesn't like cling and stuff as much. Now that I have a place, I have to go out to that place. Now would be the time. If I do it now, it should be able to survive. But I'm gonna try to get one planted here so I can have a ginkgo tree and we can talk about that. So we are about a half an hour out, and about a half an hour are, in theory, Our dough should be up enough. Excuse me. Fenugreek seed. I really needed this. This is going in my blend. Fenugreek has a lot of interesting properties. Fenugreek will affect your hormones, male or female. So if you are female and you are breastfeeding, this is known to increase your breast milk production. It'll increase how much you make and the quality of the breast milk itself. It actually makes the breast milk more breasty, more milky. I don't know. It makes it a lot better. But if you are a male and you are trying to increase your testosterone, this is an herb you definitely want to add. It'll help with your body. It'll help your body produce testosterone better. So I'm getting ready to do a body transformation. I was going to do it last week, but some other things came up, and it was going to be a bad week to try to start doing a body transformation. But starting tomorrow morning, we're going to start with the body transformation. We're going to start the recipe. So the first video will be, we're going to be discussing the body transformation. The second video will be for subscribers. So it's only going to be on Patreon and on Instagram, where people pay for that subscription. It's $1 a month. But for those, I'm going to give the actual recipe, the beast mode recipe, and I'm going to start making the beast mode recipe. So the beast mode will be started, and then 3 weeks into what I'm doing as far as my workout, we're going to take, how everything is going, from my diet, detoxing, and all that other stuff, because I have to do all of that stuff. But after 3 weeks, after I've done all the detox, I got my digestion and everything fixed, I'm gonna start adding the beast mode to it, so we can see the physical change. Now, the good thing about this is this is like an anti-aging blend. If you've been following for a while, you've already seen and heard about the beast mode. The recipe is already, I believe, over on Patreon. But we're going to go ahead and make it. I'm going to actively use it, and we're going to show everybody how it works. So, more like an anti-platelet. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. More like an anti-platelet. The ginkgo biloba, making your blood less sticky. So this one I got to put aside. I got to make sure, because we're going to be starting the beast mode recipe tomorrow. I'm glad I found that. Black walnut hulls. These are obviously good if you're for anti-parasitic stuff. So if you have parasites, safe enough for your animals. So if you have animals with parasites, strangely enough, well, not strangely enough, but when I did the parasite purge potion, that's what I used on the kittens to get rid of the parasites, and within 3 days their worms were gone. Like when I got them to the vet, I know for a fact they had worms. They were all over their feces when they were in the litter box. And then after I gave them parasite purge for 3 days, after 3 days their feces was clear. They didn't have any of that stuff. So I do know that the parasite purge potion works. I know it's safe enough for kittens. At that point they were only like 7 or 8 weeks old, and they were getting I think 10 milliliters 3 times a day. So organic motherwort, it's also a good female herb. Female issues. Hawthorn berries, this is one of the best heart herbs in the world. I call it a complete cardiovascular tonic. Wormwood, here's another. If you mix this with the black walnut hulls, this also works well. It's actually 2 of the ingredients that are in my parasite purge potion. Say that 3 times fast. Dong Quai, it's a great adaptogen. This is typically a Chinese herb. This is considered angelica root. So if you've ever heard of angelica root, Dong Quai and angelica root are the same herb. So they're both the same thing. They're just called different things. They kind of smell mapley, I think. I don't know. Maybe not mapley. Musky? I don't even know. Yep, that's definitely Dong Quai. But they have their own aroma. And when you smell it, you'll know. Centauri herb. This is a good lung herb as well. Slippery elm. There we go, Sarah. There's our slippery elm. We have the fourth ingredient for the Easiac blend, finally. You know what would have happened? I would have seen that and I said, ah, crap, that's the fourth ingredient for the bugleweed. This is good lung herb, sage leaf. This is a good antiseptic herb, antiviral herb. If you use antiviral. If you use sage is a really good antiviral herb. This might not be a bad herb to add to the antiviral blend. More dandelion leaf, more catnip. Catnip is really good antiviral herb because of the menthol in it. Got some more licorice root. There's some eucalyptus leaf. That's really good for congestion. It'll help break a fever. Cayenne fruit. That makes all these other herbs more effective. Lobelia. You know, lobelia contains nicotine. It has actually small amounts of nicotine in it, so people that are actually trying to quit smoking, if you're trying to quit tobacco, don't use lobelia, because lobelia has nicotine in it. Licorice root again, juniper berries again, basil leaf, flaxseed, self-heal. So we got some heal all here. That's good. This would be great for the healing herb. Healing salve. Partridge berry. Partridge berry herb. I'm not even sure what that's good for. Sounds cool though. Put that aside. Ashwagandha. There's a good Ayurvedic herb. This is another good adaptogen. Help get your body ready for stresses. It's also a good antiviral. Barberry. There we go. There's a good antiviral herb. It's an antibacterial herb. This is about the third most potent antibiotic herb in the world. So you have golden seal be at number 1, Oregon grape be at number 2, barberry would be a very close third to Oregon grape. Rosemary leaf, there's another good antiviral. Hyssop herb, there's a good blood builder. Comfrey leaf, there's a good pain/healing herb. Here's some kelp, that's really good for kelp and bladderwrack. You have kelp and bladderwrack, both of them are seaweed algae. Those are really good for your thyroid, but you got to be careful and not take too much. Take too much, will get too much iodine in your body. Though your body will pee it out, it's just not necessarily good for your body. And then we have some spearmint leaf. So all in all, she got us a lot of really cool herbs. She also gave me, you know, I should probably do reviews on them too. Let me go grab them real quick, because again, we're still waiting for the dough to rise. So we got about 20 more minutes, and the dough should be risen enough to where we want it. What do you guys think of all those herbs she gave us? Think about how much content that is. I can do a video for each one of these herbs. Everybody should say thank you, Liz. I gotta keep the fenugreek aside though. That's for tomorrow. Alright. This is pretty awesome. Yes, Sarah. Let's see. Sarah said ashwagandha is good. Yeah, ashwagandha is amazing. It's a really good herb. Alright, so I have to clean this counter off because I had all those packaged herbs on there. We have to make sure it's cleaned off before, or dried off before we get our dough out here. What I'm going to do is when we come back and talk about those books, is we're going to go ahead and get the other things mixed up. We're going to get the sugar blend, the brown sugar blend mixed up, and then I'll probably start working on the, when we get them ready to get baked, then we'll work on the icing. Because we're going to do cream cheese frosting. I'm going to go grab the other goodies that she got us. Sorry about that. She gave us that. So, principles and practice of phytotherapy, i.e. herbalism. National Geographic Guide to Medicinal Herbs. We'll do a book review on that one. The Complete Guide to Herbal Medicines. We'll do another book review on this one. And then this one, the Herbal or General History of Plants. This is a really big book with a lot of good stuff in it. So we'll also cover this. This will be good to add. This is information that they had from the 1600s. So a lot of this would have been pulled from like Culpeper and some of those other herbalists from that time period. But this is a very, very nice book. This will be a good addition to our library. What do you guys think of that? A lot of good stuff in here, a lot of good drawings. And there's hundreds of pages. There are about 1,600 pages. What do you guys think of that? Right? Wasn't that a great book haul, Sarah? This is amazing. So Liz is, you might be seeing Liz a little bit here and there. She's been learning from me off and on. She's quite knowledgeable in herbs. But as far as like practical experience, she doesn't necessarily have the practical experience. So she's going to be taking a more personal, I'll be like guiding her on a more personal level, showing her directly how to do certain things, how to plan your blends together, different approaches for natural healing. So, tames my inner demons. Cindy says that the ashwagandha tames her inner demons just for a little bit. I added just for a little bit part. But yeah, she might be taking a more direct role, maybe some of the videos and whatnot, and getting some of these videos. She does have her own channel over on TikTok and Instagram too, I believe. So she's a nice young lady. She has a lot to offer, and she has a lot to learn. I mean, she wants to learn a lot. She doesn't have a lot to learn. We all have a lot to learn, I guess. But she wants to learn a lot, and we're gonna have a lot. I think we'll have an easier time. She's pretty good with her herbs. So let's start with making our sugar blend. I don't even want to use this. Kelly had that made for me. Where Science Meets Nature. I don't even want to use it. It's so cool. I should do a video about it though, because that was pretty awesome. All right, cinnamon rolls filling ingredients. We're gonna go and get some brown sugar. Sorry about that. Was not properly prior planned. We need 1 cup of brown sugar with some cinnamon. And this time around, I'm not going to mix the butter in with it. No, my own personal opinion, I'll have you know. But I think mixing the butter in with it ahead of time makes it taste better. But that's just me. So, just so you know, that is an option for you. If you really want to, you can mix your butter in with this mixture ahead of time. It'll make it a little creamier, and then you can just kind of pour it and spread it over your dough a little bit better. So there we have a cup. So it's pressed. You're going to add, I think, 3 tablespoons of cinnamon. This is so fresh, I haven't even opened it yet. I should have went to Planktown Market here in Ohio. You should look up Planktown Market. It's world famous. But it's a world famous deli, but they have all sorts of good food. And I am friends with the owner and the owner's son. And they have some amazing stuff there. Alright, so you take your brown sugar and you kind of spread it out. You can use granulated sugar if you don't have brown sugar. But I have found that brown sugar works the best. I have made cinnamon rolls both ways. And as of right now, this is the best way that I have found to make them. I don't think this is going to fit in here. I'm pretty sure it won't. Nope. Dang it. Alright. 3 tablespoons. I mean, I suppose if you go a little bit high on the cinnamon, is it really going to matter? They're cinnamon rolls. But, whatever. 1. Oops. 2. 3. Alright. Now that I'm mixing my food, I'm not going to touch you. So, Ginger the cat has come out. They were napping. So they're going to probably wait until I go to bed to decide to get up and get the zoomies. So you want to mix your cinnamon brown sugar blend as well as you can. Sometimes you'll have the chunks in your brown sugar. Just keep going. until you get it as smooth as possible. You don't really want to have any leftover chunks of brown sugar. I mean, realistically speaking, it's not going to matter ultimately, because when you go to spread it over everything, ambulance. If everybody's, well, obviously everybody's not okay, or they would need the ambulance. But I hope they get better quickly. All right, so mixed up. It's fairly smooth. That we're going to spread over our dough. Once we get the dough out, we're going to pound it down, we're going to roll it out, and we're going to make it into a square. It's going to be roughly like a foot long and about 18 inches, and then we're going to roll it, and then we're going to cut it into sections. If you've ever made cinnamon rolls, then you know that part of the process. If you haven't, you'll see this part of the process. I'll make sure that the camera is pointing down enough that you'll be able to see it as we go. And, you know. Now, when we do the Cinnabon icing, you need 6 tablespoons of butter, 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, and you do need powdered sugar for that, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Hey, wait. I guess it's not cream cheese frosting. Wait, what? You're supposed to have cream cheese frosting. We should get a cream cheese frosting recipe. Because this is just calling for powdered sugar. You know what? I'm going to make it the way this recipe calls for it. It's the way I've always made it. And we'll go without cream cheese frosting. Alright, you guys want to see Ginger? I don't have to wash my hands. Come here, Ginger. This is Ginger. She is doing much better now. This is Pepper. He is doing much better now. They are both very spicy. Ginger seems to think that it's her main mission in life to wake me up every morning at 7 o'clock. And it's a little hard to be mad at her because she wakes me up by purring. So, I mean, she's clearly so happy, I can't hardly be mad at her for waking me up so early. Other than the fact that she's waking me up so early. They have decided they live here now. So, like when I go to bed at night, they actually do. They go and lay down and they sleep in bed with me. And then at 7 o'clock in the morning, Ginger says, "Hey, dude, it's time to get up." So it doesn't matter where I put my head, she finds me. And, you know, there have been times that she's laid across the back of my neck. She tried to climb in my ear. She's very intrusive and has no concept at all of personal space. The other day I was going to the bathroom and she thought she was going to climb into my pants as I was going to the bathroom. So it's like, we are not that friendly, Miss Ginger. So they're very spoiled. If I end up with both dogs, this, you know, you won't really get to see them because unfortunately, Soul is too aggressive with other animals that are not Morpheus. So it'll just be at that point it'll just be those two. So they'll be happier, and they're both about 9 years old. So Morpheus is 9, Soul is 8. So they're kind of old for their dogs. Silly kittens indeed. Yeah, they are, but they are nice to have around right now. You know, I mean, neither one of them know how to be petted, so she's more aggressive than he is. She usually ends up getting the better of him on just about everything they do. So he tries, but he is no match for her. I'm gonna go check our dough and see where that is at. It is rising nicely. It is now about half again as big as it was. So in about, what? How much longer? It won't be too much longer. I don't know what time it is. 8:19. So in about 10-15 minutes it should be big enough for us to Ginger cats. Well, and from what I understand, ginger females are pretty rare. From everything that I've read, I guess only about 20% of orange cats are are female. And she's kind of interesting because she's got the way her markings go. She looks like she has a mask that goes across her eyes, and then she has a necklace. There's one ring that goes right around her neck that looks like a necklace. I have been taking care of them since pretty much they were born. These were the two that were at the house that I was living at, and they were kind of sick when they were born, and I kind of nursed them back to health. Like they had eye infections and other things, so I was cleaning their eyes out every day, and I was making sure that they were staying clean. They were loaded with fleas. So once I got them here, I was able to take care of their worms. I was able to finish taking care of their eyes. I could not quite get rid of the upper respiratory infection. I did everything I could. It just wouldn't go away. And rather than I didn't have any Oregon grapefruit at the time, so rather than try to I didn't have enough Oregon grapefruit to give to the kittens. That's a much more gentle herb. Um, but I didn't have any to give to the kittens for the upper respiratory infection. So I ultimately had to go up to the vet and get them some antibiotics. So we have some antibiotics that got rid of their upper respiratory infections. Now I have to fix their digestion. So but the good thing about it is they eat almost everything I eat. So when I make them food, or when I make food for me, so if I make beef stew, they get the beef stew. They get, mostly they get the beef, right, because they're cats, but they get a little bit of the other vegetables. So they'll get some green beans or, potatoes or whatever. Um, they like, I made chili not too long ago here this week, and I thought, I'll throw some chili down there and see what. They ate the chili, they ate beans and all, everything. They ate the sauce, all of it, they ate it all. And I put it in rice. I do chili and rice. And I wasn't sure that they would eat it, but I mashed it up, and by God, they ate every bit. So I was rather surprised. And I don't give them a lot. I use it just kind of like to supplement their meal. But like last night, I made biscuits and gravy. So they got some. They ended up getting some scrambled eggs. They got some scrambled eggs. They got the sausage and a little bit of the gravy. But I mixed that into like a paste, and they really liked that. Hate to ask, but what's good for treating hot spots on dogs? Well, witch hazel wouldn't be bad. If you can get some witch hazel at the store, it doesn't sting or burn. But if there's any way, oftentimes the hot spots are due to fleas, even if you don't necessarily see them. And if it's not, it's an allergic reaction. But then at that point, you want to supplement it with something like stinging nettle or something like that to help you alleviate that allergic reaction. Your tuxedo cat won't eat. Cindy says her tuxedo cat won't eat people food. These two, it's kind of weird. I didn't think they would either. Because they have some of the fancier, the more expensive lines that's designed. It's the best I could get from where I was at. But it's not the cheap kitten chow, and they eat that. But I gave them the people food just to see if, and they do. They eat it. And then the vet. Initially, it was kind of funny. The vet was like, she's a younger lady, and she's very knowledgeable, and I certainly respect her for going through all the schooling and everything. But when she asked me about what I feed them, and I told her, I said, well, occasionally they get some people food. She kind of gave me this look, and she's like, well, you shouldn't give them people food. And I said, why not? And she goes, because it'll give them diarrhea. And then she goes, and then we talked a little bit further, about 4 or 5 sentences in, and she goes, well, if they seem to have a problem eating regular cat food, just go ahead and give them soft food. I said, well, I don't give them soft food. And she goes, why? And I said, well, because that would give them diarrhea. and I said that he used the same tone that she used with me. And she kind of gave me one of those humps, but I kind of got her there, and so we kind of dropped that line of discussion. So she didn't ask any more about what I fed my cats, and I didn't tell her that I'm not stupid. I'm not going to give my cats something that could be harmful for them. My rabbit cat's curtains, rugs, electrical. Oh, eats your rabbits. They can be. They're if you think about it, they're just like a big fat rat with a tiny tail. Realistically, other than that, they're not omnivorous. Rabbits are definitely vegetarians, but yeah, they chew. They're kind of like a little hopping beaver. They're not afraid to chew. And the reason part of that is because they have their teeth will keep growing, so they have to keep chewing in order to wear those teeth down. I remember when I was little, we used to have teeth clippers. My dad raised rabbits, and we used to have to clip that. Oh, I hated it. Ugh. They clip their teeth. Just the thought of it. Just clip them right off at the nub. Like, man, it's so brutal. Yeah, so Liz gave us a lot of content. We got a lot of stuff that's coming up that should really fill things. Later this week, we'll be coming out with top 3 herbs from New York, and then I have what can I do for liver disease. I haven't forgotten those, but moving into the house, it wasn't just as easy as just popping in here and being able to start doing video. I thought it would be. I thought, yeah, man, I'll just get into my house, man. We'll just crank all these videos out. But I got so much stuff to do around here just to get it ready. Because it wasn't necessarily perfectly livable when I got in here. So, this is good. We're in about 5 more minutes. We're going to be getting to the point where we're going to pull that dough out, and we're going to go ahead and pull it out. We're going to pound it down. So even though it's risen and everything, you're going to knock it all back down again, and then we're going to roll it out. Now, you're going to want to make sure when we get to this part, you want to make sure to have some flour. You're going to want flour because you're going to want to put it down on your surface. Now, some people will use like a baking mat, which is like a silicone mat, or sometimes a plastic mat that you can spread out on your counter. It doesn't have any grooves or anything in it, so it's a lot easier to use, and then you're not getting your counter all dirty. I don't have one of those, but I have a butt ton of counter space, so I have more than enough counter space to do something like this. And this would kind of make me think that if we had a couple of stools here, I could have this as like a little breakfast nook, but I would be the only one. I'd have to jump back and forth, but I'm getting my foot attacked. So we're going to hear in a minute, we got a few more minutes. We're going to go ahead and we're going to grab the dough. We're going to knock the dough down. We're going to do the frosting as we're waiting for that to bake. It doesn't take that long for it to bake, unless I'm mistaken. It's only like 20 minutes, half an hour. It doesn't take long for it to bake. Let's see. They're saying that they want these to rise twice. So what do they say? Start the rolls, blah, blah, blah. Place the dough in a bowl, 1 hour, and dough is doubled in size. Roll the dough in a silicone mat, floured. Oh, that's right. We have to wait for it to rise again after we put it in the thing to make the, let them rise again for another 30 minutes until they double in size. And then you bake them, and then they get even bigger. Now, I'm going to warn you right now, when you guys go to make these, when they get to baking and you can start smelling that cinnamon, it's gonna make you hungry. So what you want to do is just as soon as they're almost ready, you want to pour yourself a nice tall glass of milk to have some milk with your freshly baked cinnamon rolls. I'm actually giving most of mine away tomorrow. I'm taking them in to work, and there's some people that I promised cinnamon rolls to. There's a couple people that also want to learn how to make them, but I told them that I'd want them to try it first, because if they didn't like the cinnamon roll, there's no point in coming over here and learning how to make it. But if they like the cinnamon roll, then they're free to come over and I'll show them how to make it. And it takes about 2 hours. Sometimes the hard part is cutting it into even chunks, even spaces. So what we can do while we're waiting for that, you can do this as well if you want. It's one of those prep things. I was able to find, I don't know if it's Pyrex, I don't think it is, but I was able to find a nice 9x13 dish. If you go ahead, I don't know what you use. Some people use the spray. I don't use that, I just use lard. So I'm going to get some lard. You want to pre-grease these for sure. And don't be afraid to get some on there. If we go too thin on it, it'll stick, and then they're a pain in the butt to get off. These things can be a pain to wash out of this thing if you don't do it right. That would suck. Lose all that brown sugar. So there's what, 4 of you watching. I guess one of you got bored. So you coat that really well. Make sure you get it in the corners. Who thinks I should dig out the catnip here in a little bit and give some to the kittens to see if they like it? See, that would be a good project for it. Anybody think I should do that? That's coated in there, you can see. See how it's all coated? That smells, just that alone smells amazing. When you mix all that cinnamon together, oh my god. At some point, I'm going to do this again because these are really good. I think maybe when I'm teaching somebody, I'll do another video on how to make the most amazing cinnamon rolls, and we'll do it. But I'll do it in short, so it'll be like a 3-minute video with the recipe, and that way it won't be so time consuming. But in this particular instance, think about it. You got kind of a small herb class, and you got all the different herbs we got to talk about. So that was certainly a benefit for it. The only downside to putting it in my bedroom is now my bedroom smells like a bakery. Now the other good thing that happened yesterday is I got my own herb order in from Monterey Bay. If you thought Liz had a lot of herbs for us, these are all going to be listed. I have some herb blends coming up. So we're going to have a kidney blend. It's going to be a detox blend. It's going to work for both your kidneys and your liver. So we're going to try to do a kidney and liver detox all at the same time. It'll be a full body detox blend, tea blend, but I'm also going to turn it into a tincture. So for those of you who are looking to do a detox, you'll have the detox blend, and then you'll have the tincture available for those of you who don't want to deal with having to do a tea. It's a 7-day detox. It would be very similar to the parasite purge. All right, so are we at that hour mark? We are at that hour mark. All right, so we're going to go grab the dough. So when I told you that the dough was going to double in size, here's how big it is now. If you remember how big it was before, the dough has doubled. Now it tells you to punch it down, and we're going to roll it out. So if we're going to punch it down, you sprinkle some flour on the calendar. There we go. Sprinkle some flour on the counter. You kind of want to spread it out. If you have a counter like mine, it won't necessarily stay. Yeah, here, bud. Comes out, doesn't leave a mess. Here's our dough. Just going to go ahead and put it on the flour. The flour will kind of stick to it. That's okay. We're going to kind of knead it, punch it down a bit, give it a light knead. And the reason why we're going to do that is we're going to kind of wake it up a bit. We're going to add some more flour to the top. That's what I do, just a little bit on top. Flip it over, a little bit there. Just enough to make it to where it's not sticky. Get your roller. Once it starts sticking to your roller, that's when I start adding more flour. This dough is going to be very stringy, right? So, and it says in the instructions, get the instructions here, it says when you go to roll it out, roll it the dough. You want it about 16 to 18 inches long and 12 inches wide. So it's still going to be fairly thick. So essentially you want it like half again as long as it is wide. You can tell I don't do this for a living. All right. That's roughly 12 by 18. And that's not quite 12. Suppose I could break out the tape measure if I really have to. Let's see. We want to make sure we're getting it fairly accurate. And no, I'm not going to touch it with the tape measure. Should be pretty close to 12 though, right? I was close. 10 and a half. Open it out a little bit more. Trust me, the 12 by 18 is really important. Because when we go to cut these, we're going to be cutting them into 1-inch sections. So when we roll it, it's going to be rolled this way. And then we're going to be cutting it into 1-inch sections. And those 1-inch sections are very important. That's how you get your most consistent. So, if you need to get a tape measure out to be sure you're getting the 12 inches that you need, then you get the tape measure out. Make sure you're doing that. It'll be well worth the extra effort. Trust me when I tell you that. Excuse me. All right. There. So 12 inches. So we're going to straighten it up just a touch. Is it at 18? 17 and a half, close enough. Good enough for who it's for, right? You can stretch it out a hair, I suppose. So, now we have it. I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to assume that it's going to tell me to paint this with the butter and then sprinkle that on there. Let's make sure. Now they're saying combine it all in the same bowl. So hey, who am I to argue with greatness? Here's my 1/3 of a cup of butter. That's how I always did it in the past, so they're going to tell me to do it now. Who am I to argue, right? Now this butter is going to add, the flavor on that is going to be amazing. So what you want to do when you're mixing it up, it'll be very similar to what you do with like the dough that I was talking about earlier when you add your butter to the dough. Just keep mixing it till you don't have any chunks. And then you know there's enough butter in it. And it's still be mixed. Now the butter isn't going to let it stick to the pan or to the bowl. You spread it on there as evenly as humanly possible. And this one will be a little bit chunky, right? Because I mean, you're not going to necessarily you don't want it to be creamy when you put it on there. If it's wet when it goes on there, it's all going to run out. It's all going to run out the bottom when you go to roll it up. And when you see these initially, you're going to think there's absolutely no way those things are going to rise. But I'm telling you, I promise, they will rise. So here's the mix, the sugar mix. Sugar, cinnamon, and butter. Here. There's a better view of it. It'll be a little grainy, but it'll be alright. Alright, so you're going to take that, and pour it here, and spread it out. I just use my hands. You can do however you want. I use my hands because I can spread it out. I have a little bit more of that textile feeling. You can add more sugar and cinnamon if you really want to. I don't. You don't. If you make it too much sugar and too much cinnamon, because I've done both. I've done it where I've used too much and it's overwhelming. It doesn't taste good. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I love cinnamon like anybody else, but if you do too much and you don't do it just the right way, it becomes a little overwhelming and it's just not as good. So you're going to take that and you're going to spread it out as evenly as you can from corner to corner. You can I kind of like press it down into the dough. It makes it less likely to want to move. It's being pressed in, you know. And then you just slowly start to roll. Once it gets going, it'll kind of go by itself. Look at that. You see how that goes. It's nice and smooth. You want to kind of flatten in the ends as you go. A little bit. And then when you get it to the very end, where you have log, it's essentially what you have here. I try to stretch it out and seal it like this. I'll pinch it and seal it to the dough all the way around. Flatten it in. Make sure you have that. You still want to make sure we're at the 12-inch mark because we are going to cut these into 1-inch sections. Make the ends as flat as possible. And when you have your knife, you see how that's kind of a nice seam there? If you really want to, you can even give a tiny little touch of water, get your finger wet, which will make this a little sticky, and they'll stick together. But I've done this enough times that you don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. All right, so let's make sure we're still at the 12-inch mark. Yep, we're at 12 inches. All right. I got to push this side in a little bit. We're going to cut these into 1-inch sections. Anybody have any questions? That looks like a pretty good solid roll, right? That looks pretty good, right? That's not too bad for a nerd guy. So here's what we're going to do. We take these and we cut them into 1-inch sections. There was a little bit of sugar left, whatever. It's not going to affect anything. I might sprinkle it over the top of everything when it's all done. All right. So there's some sugar. Oh, this is the knife I was looking for earlier. All right. We're going to take them and cut them into 1-inch sections. Use the sharpest knife you can find and very gently slice. And it should. This first one isn't going to be all that great. Look like that. And you're going to stick it in here. But your second one, in theory, will look a lot better. Your second one should look like that. See that? Because it's not an end. And you just keep cutting. You're going to cut 12 of them. Make sure you cut all the way through. And then you're going to do 3 per row. Who'd like to be over here doing this live with me tonight, huh? There's another one. Look at that. Aren't those pretty? Look at that. That's what I can do next year. I don't think I'll have nearly as much stress and bullshit that's going on in my life next year as I did this year. So, maybe next year we could do a where I do a travel and go to somebody's house and we bake something. Baking with the herb guy. Sorry I'm not talking. I'm kind of focusing on making sure I get this right. Now see, if you're one of my followers and you actually work with me, and you're one of my close friends at work, you are likely to get one of these tomorrow, or today, depending on when you're watching this video, or yesterday. If you didn't get one yesterday and it's Tuesday, well, sorry I missed you. Catch you on the next batch. Alright, so here we go. My ones on the end, it looks like they're going to be a bit fatter than the ones in the middle, but that'll be alright. They're still going to taste amazing. Here's another one. See, they look good. So you take them and you put them in there, just like I'm going to do this for that. I'm going to give the ones on the end a little bit more sugar because they got a little robbed. But it should look pretty close to this. What do you think of that? That's not so bad, is it? Now, we have to cover these and let them rise for another 20 minutes. So I'm going to go put them back in the bedroom and let them rise. We're going to go ahead and preheat the oven, and then we're going to go and also make the frosting. But here I'm going to take the extra and put on this poor end one that didn't get hardly any sugar. If you're the one that doesn't get any of the sugar, that's not because I don't like you. It's just luck of the draw, buddy. All right, here we go. We're going to go put these in and let them rise for 20 minutes. Alright, so while they're rising, it says we are supposed to heat the oven. Let's see, we preheat the oven, 350 degrees, and they only have to bake for 20 minutes. The baking time is the shortest time of the whole freaking process. What did I say, 350? Is that what I said? 350 for 20 minutes. So we're going to bake. Alright, so the oven is preheating. Let's get our frosting made. No, let's clean off our counter and then make our frosting. Hi, Ginger. This is pretty easy so far. What do you guys think? You guys liking this so far? If you are, let me know in the comments. Alright, so we've got our counter cleaned off, at least as well as they need to be for a video. Okay, so I can almost smell it. Been thinking that the whole time. Somebody said, I love it. This is pretty neat. Alright, so here's, I'm going to use that for the frosting. For the frosting, it is not cream cheese frosting. We're going to use, it's going to be just sugar frosting. And if I remember right, that's what I did with the other ones too. So, I need 1.5 cups of powdered sugar and 6 tablespoons of butter. So, and of course the butter's already been softened. I've had it out all day. I went and bought 6 cups. Holy shit, that's a lot. I went and bought some powdered sugar specifically to make these. If you get one of these, I must really like you, because these are expensive, but they're really, really delicious. And they're worth sharing with people you like. Alright, so let's see. In about At about 10 after 9, we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull those because they're going to be risen in theory. They'll be 20 minutes. It'll be the 20 minutes for the rising. Let's get our 6 cups. Did it really say 6 cups? What the? 6 tablespoons of butter. 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. Okay, I can deal with that. 6 cups. It's like, holy crap. Phew, I'm glad that's one of those measure twice, cut once kind of things. So you measure twice. Okay, so we're going to add 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. We can do that. That's not so bad. It doesn't say packed. And powdered sugar is not known for its pouring ability. It's essentially granulated sugar that's been finely ground. Somebody once told me that confectioner sugar is the same thing, and then somebody else told me they are not the same thing. So I'm going to run under the supposition that they are not necessarily the same thing. There's... two. Sorry for the noise. Shit. Doing some change. Ooh, that means there's plenty for other batches. There we go. Dandy. Alright. And then 6 tablespoons. That's where I got the 6 from. 6 tablespoons of butter. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. Alright, so there's our 6 tablespoons of butter, which leaves me with 2. I also need, unless I'm mistaken, I need vanilla and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Here's the salt. A teaspoon of salt. I'm just using sea salt. Eighth of a teaspoon. Now, of course, it just wouldn't be right if you didn't have the vanilla, right? So I think it's, what did it say, half a teaspoon of vanilla? Half a teaspoon of vanilla. I have pure vanilla, but I mean, you can use imitation vanilla, I suppose. Once I get some vanilla beans, I will be teaching you how to make your own vanilla extract. I think that's probably a good skill to have. They are kind of expensive, vanilla beans, but if you make them into your own extract, it makes it more cost effective if you make your own. So half a teaspoon of vanilla. All right, I want to make sure I'm just doing it right. All right. There's half a teaspoon. I typically don't pour it into like one pile. I'll spread it. I mean, granted, it's gonna be mixed anyway, but this just ensures it doesn't clump up. Here's our butter. You can use your fork that you use with the other, but I mean, what's it really gonna do? You're eating cinnamon rolls. It's only gonna add, but I don't. I'm not going to for this recipe. My oven is ready. It means we are down to not too much longer. We can go get our I will cheat. I'm going to heat this on very low heat to liquefy the butter. It doesn't take very much heat to melt your butter, so you don't need to put it on any type of temperature at all other than warmer than air temperature, because butter freaking melts at the slightest anything. But what I did was I put it on the stove on the lowest heat. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Once the bottom of the pan gets a little warm, that means that the butter's going to melt. I'll turn it into a liquid, and then you mix your icing that way. Of course, if you do it without the sugar, it's a lot less of a mess. There's absolutely zero reason you can't just pop over here to the stove, other than the fact that it's not very well lit in my kitchen. But liquefy your butter. It mixes that frosting a lot faster. And you really just need enough heat to make it liquidy. Oops, had a bit of an explosion. The more liquidy it is, the faster it'll turn into a liquid when you mix it with the sugar. It's been a couple years since I've made this, so my butter's kind of liquidy. There, a little liquidy. So we've got about 10 more minutes, I think. 10 or 15 more minutes for our cinnamon rolls to rise. Once they have risen, we're going to throw them in the oven for 20 minutes. And you want to let them cool just a little bit before you pour this frosting on it. Otherwise, the frosting will melt so bad that you won't have a good adhesion to the top, and it all just kind of falls down and blends together, and it's just not quite the same thing. So I usually let my cinnamon rolls cool for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes before I even bother to put frosting on them. You're not going to be able to eat them anyway. I mean, you could, I suppose, you know, with it being that fresh, but your frosting is just going to flow right off of it. And it just doesn't taste the same if it doesn't have the frosting on it. So my lard fell apart. It'll be alright. Alright, so my butter is melted. You do not want your butter to scorch. That will definitely affect the flavor of your frosting. You take your melted butter and pour it right in your sugar. And pop this back over here before it gets cold. And just start mixing. It'll mix. There it goes. Now I'm going to probably break out the mixer here in a little bit. Maybe. We'll see how well it mixes. It mixes a lot better with a mixer. As you can see, it kind of, I was hoping not to necessarily have to break out the mixer. It looks like I'm going to have to use the mixer. Luckily, my friend brought one over, him and his girlfriend. They had an extra one they brought over for me, because that was one thing I did not have. I went to Goodwill and I bought a crock pot. Alright. Make sure you cover and put your lid on your vanilla because it's expensive. You can get away with just using one mixer, by the way. Hold the side. turns out more like your creamy frosting for cinnamon rolls. I'm going to get this a bit more loose, but before we get ready for the pour. But if you look at it, there's your frosting right there. I'll have this recipe down in the description when we're ready for that part of it. It is a bit messy. I'm going to put the link to this recipe in there too, so that way you guys can find the site where she explained it in more detail. And it's only fair. I got the recipe from her that I send you guys over there so she can see it. That'll be there for you guys to see. There's our frosting. Looks tasty, don't it? We are almost ready to grab our oh, she's the warning comments. No, it's not too bad. This isn't greasy. If I add more sugar, it'd be too clumpy. You look at it now, and it's sticking to my spatula. I think it needs to be a little bit warmer. I think if it were just a touch warmer, it would probably be a little bit smoother. It's pretty smooth. Let's see, where are we at? We have about 8 more minutes, and then we get the cinnamon rolls. I will show you what they look like after they have sat for 20 minutes. I don't know how many of you have been over to Patreon lately, but tomorrow I'm going to be posting the gut-brain connection, and I haven't seen too many people popping over to Patreon in regards to the coursework. The coursework has been put up. There are little quizzes there. It's all downloadable, so you can download everything, and it's easy to. Oh, I wish I could put it on the warm oven, but I have one of those in the wall ovens. So, I mean, about the best I could probably do would be to put it up in the cabinet above the oven. It might be warm. No, not really. Has really good insulation. Now, the only thing I don't have for the house right now is I don't have any blinds. And I was going to buy some blinds, but my stepdaughter has some band issues, and so I couldn't in good conscience allow them to go without being mobile. You got to have a vehicle, and so I helped them get their van back up on the road for them this weekend. Because it's kind of miserable not having somewhere, no means to get around. But the money that I used for that was supposed to be money for my mini blinds. So I'm going to go another week without mini blinds. That's alright. Realistically, I mean, I'm not here at night anyway. I work nights, so there really isn't much to see here. If people want to come and check out my cats, I suppose they can. They're going to give them quite a show. Hey there, Pepper. Now it's kind of cute though. If I call their name, well, if I call Pepper, he comes running. If I call Ginger, she'll show up when she's ready. Pepper, he'll come running across the floor. He knows his name right away. He figured out, like when I first said, "Is your name Pepper?" He perked up, and he has come to that name ever since. Took a few tries to figure out what Ginger's name was, because there was a lot of people that suggested. There's a lot there. Tomorrow you're going to get the gut-brain connection as well. And then next Monday after that is the 3Ds of health. Now, just for you guys that follow on Patreon, and I know that the coursework is primarily for the $3 subscribers. When it comes to the 3Ds of health, that one I'm going to offer for free. And the reason why is because that's my own specific program that I have been talking about for a long time. So I want to make sure that when I share that with everybody, and everybody has an opportunity to see what the 3Ds of health is about. Like people like Mitchell, who's been reading it constantly. This one's going to be the biggest of the sections that we've gone through. This is going to be about 20 pages long. It's going to be a bigger quiz, but there's a lot of information to take in, because as far as I'm concerned, the 3Ds of health is the most important aspect out of all of the stuff that I teach. So, the next time around, or the next section or the next module is going to be herbal medicine. So I'm going to be covering about 10 herbs in the herbal medicine, the 10 most popular herbs, and then we're going to go through some different things. So I'm going to teach you how to make an extract. I'm going to teach you how to make, this is all basic stuff. I'm going to teach you how to make an extract. I'm going to teach you how to make an oil, an infused oil. I'm going to teach you how to make different teas, and then how to formulate your blends, and then we'll talk about different aspects of herbal healing for that section too. So Mitchell, yeah, you've been saying something every time. Mitchell's been reading, I think he reads it as soon as it comes out. I mean, when it's there, he is on it, and he makes sure that, he gives his feedback, and because there's a lot in there. In the first 4 sections alone, there's a lot of content in there, and there's a lot of things you're going to have to take in. And the further behind you get, I'm going to tell you that if you try to do that whole module all at once, you'll be sorry, because that's going to be too much information for you to take in all at one time. And then, I understand some people can read like that, but not everybody can. And but if you try to take that whole module all at once, it's going to be overwhelming, and you won't catch it. Do I hunt? I am going to be hunting this year. Yes, now that I have a home of my own. The only thing I'm short is a chest freezer. So my soon-to-be ex-father-in-law, him and I are still friends, and we're still fairly close. We have our own relationship outside of that relationship. So him and I we've already made plans. He has over 40 acres for me to hunt on. So this year I'm going to get at least one or two. I'm going to try to get at least one or two, and then get some meat, and then that's part of what I'll do. I'll be given different recipes, and for those of you who don't eat deer, well, you can substitute it with pork or chicken or beef or whatever. I mean, meat is fairly easy to substitute. So, but if I can do it my own, man, that's a lot of savings. If I can get 2 deer, that's probably about 100 pounds of meat. That'll last me a long time. That's roughly 100 days of food, give or take. So I would be just fine with that. That frosting's really good, by the way. I love to fish. It's one of my favorite pastimes. I suck at it. I'm a terrible fisherman, but I love to do it. And I don't really like to eat fish. I'll eat panfish, so I'll eat some like crappie and bluegill. I'll eat bass. Oh my God, that cat is going to drive me nuts. I'll eat bass, but I won't. I'm not a huge fan of fish. I'll eat cod, but salmon. I like salmon patties, but I don't like trout. I don't, any of the trouts or anything like that. Venison recipes. Well, how about we do some? I catch 20 pounds of fish down the floor. Now, see that's what I like. And catch a heavy fish like that. That's a good fight. That's part of why I like to go. But to be fair, I'll just go out there and sit. If I don't catch anything, I don't care. I just have the opportunity to go out there and sit by the water. It's very relaxing. It's one of my favorite paths. That's what I used to. My stepdad taught me how to fish, and that was one of the favorite things I used to love to do. We used to go to a place called Florence Lake in Oregon, and we would fish the heck out of crappie and bluegill. We'd catch them by the hundreds. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun getting out there on the boat, fishing with Dad. A lot of funny things happened. There's a lot of good memories with fishing. So, a 10-pound hammerhead. See, sharks can fight. Sharks put up a good fight. They're good. I've done some deep sea fishing, A bad day fishing is better than than a good day. I agree, Durf. Bad day fishing, definitely. Because, I don't know, there's just something about being out by the water. And I'm a Leo, so I'm a fire sign. That's the frosting. I can't let it go to waste. I'm a Leo, so that's a fire sign. And, oh, it's time to go get our cinnamon rolls. Um, but I don't, but I feel more relaxed when I'm around water. So, don't get me wrong, I can sit next to a bonfire and be just as relaxed. But when I'm by the water, you guys get out of the garbage! Oh my god, you suck. Alright, let's go check our cinnamon rolls. Here's our 20-minute rise. As you can see, we put them in a nice warm spot. They have gotten nice and big. Look at that. Isn't that nice? So we're going to go ahead and slap these in the oven. It'll be in the oven for 20 minutes. That puts it at 931. Did you like that? They were licking the butter. They were getting the butter wrappers. So at 9:31, in theory, our cinnamon rolls will be ready. Waters always calm me. I find reassurance. Waters, I don't know. There's something relaxing about water. I like swimming. At least I used to like swimming. It's not nearly as much fun now that I'm older. Um, there was a place in Oregon I used to like to go. On the river on the side of a mountain. But I guess they had really bad wildfires this year up in that area, so they shut the whole area down. But that was one of my favorite spots. There was a cement bridge up there that was almost 30 feet off the water. I jumped off it once, and once was enough for me. I was good after that. But yeah, there's something relaxing about water. Water is good for, it's good for a lot of things. This is part of what we're going to talk about later in the coursework. Some of the things that help with healing that aren't necessarily herb related, or because you can't herb your way back to better health. You can't just keep taking herbal supplements and hope for the best. That's not quite how that works. So, and I was talking to somebody about that today, and so you really have to. A lot of it is a lifestyle change. If you don't change your lifestyle, you're going to end up with the same problems. And this is going to continue to perpetuate if you don't do your part. Your body is a machine that you have to take care of. It's kind of up to your responsibility. Unfortunately, doctors aren't necessarily always willing to tell patients that, because the patient might hurt their feelings or something. But I would rather hurt your feelings now than have you hurt yourself later with other things, through poor choices. So, I think it's better to try to. Try to do it as holistically as possible. So that's why this course is going to be very important. But wait till we get to the energy healing part. Cindy was mentioning before that she thought that was swimming is nerve-wracking only because of a bathing. Oh, right. I wear a t-shirt with shorts, so yeah. I live in Virginia Beach. Oh my God, basically, I love the beach, but won't swim. And I don't blame you. Swimming in the ocean is way different than if you go to like a river or a swimming pool. The ocean is too unpredictable. You got your undertows, and I used to swim in the ocean in Oregon. Holy crap, that water is cold. You have Lincoln City, Newport. That water is never warm, ever, ever, ever. It's only it's usually only about 50 or 60 degrees. So you get out there, man, and you're free. It'd be middle of the summer, man. You jump out in that water, and you're coming out chattering and freezing. And your lips are blue because it's so cold. Yeah, and then you get the undertows, so if you don't catch it the right way, it pulls your feet out from underneath you, and then you're in for a bad day. So I saw some people that surf and stuff. There's just no way. Hell with that. That's way too cold for me. So yeah, ocean fishing is way different. And then you got bigger critters. I don't have to. If I go swimming in a reservoir or in a river, like a mountain river, I'm not as likely to run into a shark or something that's could be willing to eat me. right? Ocean water is too much for me. It's so strong. It is. It's just not the same. And it's you have to get way out off the shore where the tides aren't so prevalent and you can swim. But still, at that point, then my mind just keeps thinking of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet that's below my feet. Nothing between me and there, but hundreds of feet. So I don't like that. That's not cool. So so I just stick with rivers and smaller places. Just give me a swimming pool any day. I'm just drinking coffee tonight. I needed to stay awake. It was kind of one of those days where I was kind of blah. I had a lot to do. I wear shorts and a t-shirt. That's right. And if people don't like it, well, tough. You don't have to. I think we might have lost Mitchell. Maybe Durf. I'm not sure. We're only down to 3, so it's me and Sarah. Cindy. Sarah. And I'm going to assume probably Mitchell. We've got, it's 9:16, 15 more minutes. Mitchell's here, so it's okay. So Durf took off. He probably had to go to work or something. I don't know. Durf doesn't always stay all night. He's got life. That's she would wear a swimming pool. Well, that's weird. It's only now there's 4 people. That's so weird. That's YouTube. Now here's the funny thing I found. So YouTube, Instagram. So if you're watching this later, I want you to remember this. And if you've made it this far into the video, you're a stud. Or at the very least, you're very much willing to stick it out. YouTube, Instagram, like on Instagram monetized me. Now the beautiful part about that is I make anywhere from 3 to 18 cents per video from Instagram. 3 to 18 cents per video. They don't show me to. Oh, and see, they kind of jumped me there. I jumped. You can send hearts on. I didn't know you could do that on YouTube. I don't even know much about YouTube. And the only reason why I did it live is because I could save it. And these cinnamon rolls are amazing. So I'm gonna put the link and the recipe down below. I can't see any. No, I don't see anything. Well, but my screen is looking funny right now. So all I see right now are comments. I don't get to see any likes or any. Well, I see that there's been 7 likes. We're up to 5 people. You got here just in time. Whoever just showed up, you got here just in time. In about another 14 minutes, we're going to be pulling the cinnamon rolls out. We have already gone through the whole baking process. If you're just now joining us, we are about 2 hours and 20 minutes in. We talked about a lot of herb stuff. So not only are you going to learn how to do cinnamon rolls, if you go back and watch this video later, you're going to learn a lot about herbs. I went through about, how many herbs did you say I went through, guys? Like 40 or 50 herbs I went through real quick. I think that's what I did. I think I did 40 or 50 herbs. I just went through just a real quick blurb. So if you had a notepad, you could keep track. You'd download the video, you'd have the information. So that, you'd have your cinnamon rolls and then your quick herb course. A friend of mine gave me a whole bunch of different herbs, and we're gonna turn them into all sorts of different projects and different things that we can do. That there's an antiviral one that I'd like to do. We're gonna talk about one for. Mitchell says in 15 minutes he's cooking liver and hearts. We're gonna also do like a joint salve. I have to be very careful how I word things. I have stuff on my Etsy store now listed, but Etsy is being very particular about how I word things, so I got to make sure that I can't give you what any of those herbs are good for. So I have a ton of herbs listed, but I'm not allowed to list why they're there. So most people who buy herbs already understand why they want these particular herbs, but other people that are looking, but Etsy won't allow it. I can't talk about any of the traditional uses. I can't talk about even the stuff that the FDA clears and says the FDA says this stuff does this. I can't even put that on Etsy. So if you go to Etsy to get any of my products out there, you're not going to get any real good descriptions. Really excited about the coursework. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I got brain, and I think you'll be really surprised with the 3Ds of health. I need to hurry up and crank that out. Later this week, we're going to be getting through New York. I need a hot plate suggestion. I got mine off of Amazon. Mine's a Newtone, I believe, hot plate. I think it was only like $50. And it's variable temperature. You can get up to like 350, 400 degrees. It works right there on the countertop. That's the one that I used for the salve video, for both salve videos. So, and I'm gonna use that. You're gonna see that quite frequently. That's the hot plate I'm gonna use when we're next week when we're doing that. How to make a tincture without using alcohol, or glycerin. You don't need glycerin either. So mine was, yeah, 50 bucks on Amazon, and I think it was Newtone. Pretty sure it was a Newtone hot plate. So it was a good deal for what I needed, and it does it. So there's multiple purposes I can use it. You can use it for cooking too, but it's one of those induction plates. So you know the hot plate, it only works if you have a metal pan on it. You haven't made your salve yet. You've had that stuff for like what, 3 months? No, really, realistically speaking, though, if you didn't necessarily need it, then there was no reason to have it. This little stinker here, he thinks that I like him. He'll come when you call him. He's very mischievous. As you can tell, they're getting quite big. He's got some really cool markings. He almost looks like his black stripes look almost more like spots than stripes, so he looks almost leopardish in how he appears on this when he looks at him on the side. He doesn't know how to be petted. When I go to pet him, he kind of does that thing with his head, but he just chases my hand everywhere. So I just kind of hold my hand still and let him pet my hand because he doesn't really know the whole concept. I don't think he's really good at it. So I was recuperating and waiting on a hot plate purchase. Yeah, that's what I did. I went to Amazon. I'm sure there was other ones that were cheaper, but that was the one that fit what I was needing, the Newtone. I'll go grab it real quick. I keep it in the box. I was wrong. It's not a Newtone. It's a New Wave. New Wave hot plate. New Wave. I know you can't read that, but Nuwave, New Wave hot plate. Yeah, it wasn't so bad. We have about 8 minutes and our cinnamon rolls should be done. All right, here we have, I keep mixing it because you want your frosting to be somewhat creamy when you pour it on there. So I have it right now, I have it kind of heating up a little bit, so it's a little warmer than room temperature. Because in about 8 minutes, we have to pull them out, and then a few minutes after that, we're going to have to frost them. And it still sticks, the frosting. It's really good frosting. Who would have thought that, sugar and a little bit of vanilla would taste good? Okay. Temu. Yeah, Temu wouldn't be bad. Temu's not bad. Let's see. All the emojis do. Right, check that. Yeah, Temu's really good. Okay, so in 7 minutes, our cinnamon rolls are coming out. So I opened up the oven and peeked, and they're raising in the pan. They're already up. They're starting to climb. They're almost level with the top of the pan. Kind of looking forward to it. Actually, I'm really looking forward to these. We're almost done. 7 minutes. Not that I'm counting or anything, but in 7 minutes, those cinnamon rolls will be out of the oven and ready for us to look at. Move. My oven just turned off. Set up on like one of those timers. I'm not used to it yet because it's fairly new. When I first moved in, it's one of those. Here, I'll show you. It's a mounted oven. It's mounted in the wall, and it's a nice one. It's a Whirlpool. Look, I'll show you. It was nice when it was built back in the 70s when it was made. So I have a Whirlpool. It's one of those in the wall ones. This is great, except when I had to do the auto clean. I did the auto clean because I thought, hey, you know, it's a little dirty. I should probably do an auto clean on this, so that way my stove that I'm just moving into, my stove works great. But it was great. It cleaned it really well. The downside to it is there's a thing called a thermal fuse that goes inside those ovens, and when the oven gets too hot, it blows what's called the thermal fuse, which means you can't use the oven. So. Oh, my battery's running low. It's a good thing we're almost done with those, huh? Yeah. It's not super low. 5 more minutes. The cinnamon rolls will be done in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, if you don't have anything else to do, you can fast forward 5 minutes. I'm going to take them out of the oven, and we can look at them in all their glory and glorious wonder. I'm going to get them frosted, and then tomorrow there's going to be some lucky people at work. Depending on what I'm doing, well, next week we're going to be doing how to make a tincture. Next week we're going to be doing how to make a tincture without alcohol or glycerin. So it's going to be a non-glycerin, non-alcohol based tincture, and with easy to use ingredients. So if you guys are going to be around next Sunday at 7 o'clock, we will go ahead and do a live. I'm going to show you how to make a tincture. Now, this is not my favorite method for making a tincture. It just isn't. It's one of the worst. But for me, that's just personal preference. But it's still usable. I mean, it doesn't lose that many of its compounds. It's just I'm not a fan of it. So, but it'll be a way for you to look at a different way of making medicine. It's fairly quick and easy. You know, it's similar to making the tincture in less than an hour with the alcohol, but you'll have to cook it, and that's why I don't like it. You have to cook it. You have to get higher temperatures than I like with my herbs. We are down to 4 minutes. They will be ready in they'll be out of the oven in 4 minutes. For those of you who are looking for a really tasty tea, we've got our cinnamon orange tea. It's orange cinnamon spice tea, and it's available on my Etsy store. We should be done in like 1 minute or two. 3 minutes. 3 minutes, they should be done. The house smells like a bakery right now. It's like it smells the baking bread, the cinnamon. This is one of the downsides to when you're making this particular recipe is it smells really good. I know you think, well, how is that a downside? How can it possibly be a downside if it smells good? Because it smells so good, you want to eat it now. You can't wait for it for later. And I have dishes to do tonight. That's no big deal. I do dishes every day. Ooh, 2 more minutes. They will be done in 2 minutes. Who's looking forward to seeing the cinnamon rolls when they're done? One more minute? We down to 1 minute? Still 2 minutes. I know, I seem impatient. But I really want these cinnamon rolls. Now see, that'll go good with my coffee in the morning. Cinnamon roll. Yesterday I did homemade biscuits with gravy and scrambled eggs and bacon. So I did breakfast for dinner last night. Well, if you come to Ohio, I'll give you one. I'll save one for you. Okay, so we have like 30 seconds, and our cinnamon rolls will be ready in like 30 seconds. Now, when I peeked on them a few minutes ago, they looked pretty freaking amazing. So I can only imagine what they're going to look like now. Now I need to get my friend's mom gave me a hot pad, oven mitt hot pad for my counter. The ones that I was staying with. She really hooked me up with some good kitchen stuff, so that way I didn't have too many issues. It is time. Who's ready to see them? All right, here we go. Here's the big reveal. I will turn this down so you can actually see the cinnamon rolls. Here's the big reveal. Are you ready? I'm gonna go get them. Be patient. Here we go. Oh my God, they smell good. And they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Here they are. Haha. Here are the cinnamon rolls. What do those look like? Those look pretty tasty, don't they? Let them cool off for a little bit. A few minutes. We don't need to cool off very much. And then we're going to put our frosting on top. And then we will be done with cinnamon rolls. What do you guys think? Do those look good? Oh, they smell amazing. My mouth's watering. Oh! Alright, so the frosting, I put it over where there's a little bit more heat. So I put it over on the heat pad that I heated the butter up in. So it stayed hot, but it wasn't so hot that it melted it. Because the frosting, we're going to want to put on it, and it'll, oh, they smell really good. They came out really nice. They have a nice solid texture here. So I got the brown here, and then when we put the frosting on top, it's really gonna set it off. Yeah, those came out really nice. That thing's still really hot though. I'll let you have a better look. Maybe. There it is. Sorry. There we go. So we have, let's see, what do we have coming up this week? We have top 3 herbs from each state. New York, we have what can I do for liver disease. I'm gonna be covering some of those herbs that Liz gave us, so we'll have some of those to go through as well. So it looks like we lost one. Let's see, we have Durf, Cindy, and Sarah. Durf and Sarah and Mitchell. Durf, Sarah, and Mitchell. I think that's who we have left. You guys were the 3 that stuck it out. Durf wants a sample. Come on out, Durf. We don't live that far away, buddy. Yeah, Sarah's only in New York. She's only about a 6-hour drive. Durf, I think you're only about an hour and a half away from me. Really, we're not that far away. We're practically neighbors comparatively. So those are cinnamon rolls. I'll show you the bottom of the pan too, without losing any of my cinnamon rolls. The bottom of the pan, see that? That looks pretty neat, don't it? So now we're going to frost them, and I will probably call it a night. If there's anything you guys would like to know or anything before, it's easy to knock one stuff off of here. Oh, it really is. We're going to go ahead and get these frosted. I'm going to put just a little dab on each one like this to start with. As it starts to melt, it'll be easier to spread. It's still a little stiff, the frosting is. I could have added more butter or maybe even a touch of milk to thin it out a bit. But then if it's too thin and it goes to melt, then it gets really messy too. So what I'm doing is I'm just knocking off little bits of it. It will melt and spread for me. I don't do this for a living, so don't expect it to look all beautiful and pretty. I'll do the best I can with what I have to work with. Realistically, it's still pretty hot, so this is going to spread. The butter is going to melt and it'll spread. And then when everything cools off, it should be a lot better. So there you go. There you have it. These are Cinnabon duplicate cinnamon rolls. Are they as pretty as Cinnabon? No, not really, but they taste just as good as any Cinnabon cinnamon roll. They take a little bit of time to make, but making them would cost you about the same as buying 2 Cinnabon. So you can buy 2 of them for a small amount, or you can make a whole batch of them like this. It tastes better than what they make there. I think it tastes better, but that's because I made it. So, you know, I'm a little biased. But this is what they look like when they're frosted. And there, my friends, are your Cinnabon cinnamon rolls, duplicate clones. Hope you liked it. Let me know if you make them, what you think of them. If you decide to pop into Ohio and come and take a visit, come on over and I'll give you one. No, I think it'll be fine. Sarah says that it's going to melt in the rolls, but I think it'll be fine. I am too. I need to stop leaning over them or I'll ruin them all. I want you all to have a great evening. Thanks for sticking around with me for 2.5 hours. Bye.